your true character is revealed not during the good times, but through the fire, right? Through the stress. That shows you who you are. Welcome, everyone, to T- presented by 321. I'm your host, Daniel.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Carrie, and I'm also really tired. We had a crazy day at the agency yesterday.
Oh, really? How crazy?
It was pretty crazy. It was frantic, to say the least. For our audience, we had a pretty much 40 days to launch a website from scratch for a client that was going to be on cable television primetime to launch his product. And building a website from scratch in 40 days is a pretty big feat. It's also
very stressful.
Very stressful. And to say that we were frantic, I think, is an understatement. We were running around in circles trying to get this done literally 3-4 hours before the show aired.
And and it's funny because I think you called me the show aired at 10. You called me at 8:50. Like, hey, you want to think about doing this campaign real quick? And I'm like, are you nuts right now?
Yeah.
Really? You know, have this conversation?
The entire project was set up for failure, which we still succeeded on. But it really was the epitome of what a client is and what their expectations are. Hey, just put this up real quick. Well, you're an hour and 15 minutes away from the entire world hearing about you. It's probably not a good idea to mess with it.
Agreed. And I think that's where stress levels come in and throwing in variables that you can't control. But to be honest, I'm very proud of everyone here because it's when those things are happening crunch time, that shows who you are. And I think we all, regardless of how much stress levels that were, I think we all came together pretty well to accomplish something that was so chaotic.
We swept all the stress and animosity between us, from us to the client and client to us, under the mat and said, let's put our heads down and get this done for the betterment of what we want to accomplish ourselves, pat ourselves on the back for what we did. I mean, I think that's where the sense of company culture really comes into play when everybody is working towards a common goal of success and is motivated by the same factors. And I think we exemplified that perfectly in the past 40 days, especially in the past 48 hours.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, because of that, we kind of threw away process, but I think enhanced the idea of what our culture is.
Certainly.
Or should be, right? So that's what I was saying. It's interesting because we kind of threw everything to the fire, but what we got out of it, I think, was a little more the intangible things when it comes to character and grit and those kind of things. I like I said, I actually appreciated it and like to see people being stretched a little bit to see what they can do.
The leaders controlling the project all really did have to throw away process and work together to get this done. And, the fact that we sit here and talk proudly about what we did is culture. And, it's something we've been talking about a lot lately amongst ourselves, with our staff. And I think that a lot of people are confused or don't truly know the meaning of culture in a workplace, and specifically for us in an agency. In fact, I don't think we directly know what our culture is here. I think it evolves every single day. I think there's people that it means more to, that care about where they work and who they work with. But then there's also people that this is a 9-to-5. They come in here, they clock in, they clock out, and they don't care to build a rapport or share a common denominator between the people they work with.
Yeah, I think, come back to your point, I think culture is kind of it is an organic thing, and it has to be authentic, because the more you force on it and the more the day-to-day goes by, you kind of unveil what the authenticity of the culture is. So if it is something that's forced upon but never reflective in who you are, it kind of shows, right? And that's why I say, like, real culture and company culture specifically is an organic thing. You can't force something or an ideal on people that don't have it instilled in them already. Like, so you just look at society, like, you can't do that, right? So you can't go into a culture and say, let's forcefully do something, unless you try to kill that culture and reinvent it. History major, is that seen correct?
Sure. I mean...
Well, think about it. Like, when you had people invade other countries,
Yeah.
right, and they wanted to instill their culture, they didn't.
It's like a very common practice.
It is a very common
pretty
practice.
much exclusively how we deal with expansionism.
Right, but it's not instilling some of my ideas into a current culture. It's actually getting rid of one culture and adding your own.
Well, I mean, if you look at the most successful cultures, let's, pull out the Pan-Hellenic culture out of example. How did they stick around for a while? It's essentially absorbing all the cultures around them. Anytime that, for instance, the Greeks would move into a new city-state that was worshiping a different set of gods, or they had their own sun god or lightning god or something like that, they would essentially just plop a skirt on it and have Zeus mess around a little bit, and you know what, welcome to the Pan-Hellenic family. Now you're part of Greek culture. Now you're involved in our Greek mythology. So
forcing it.
Man, this is not the direction I wanted to take that.
That's how I interpret it, because everything you
Yeah.
talked about, that was way over my head. But I think it's just perceived as something that people talk about but don't actually know about, and I don't know. It's something that I fought as an agency owner for 3, 4, or 5 years. How long have we been around? Let's call it 5 years, 4 years,
4 or 5 years,
somewhere
yeah.
around there. Because as you always say to me, it's got to start at the top, right? Because the people that come in here that aren't a part of the culture yet look to the top. So it's tough to make sure that you can exemplify that in everything that you're doing, because it's in everything. It's in every action you take, in every project you take on, the way you communicate with people. And it's difficult because I feel like I always have to be on my toes about what I'm doing in front of the team to make sure that they see the same vision I see, because that's what I want. I want everyone to be a family here. Mm-hmm. And that is one part of culture that I think we feel is superficial, like going out for drinks, hanging out together.
Right.
That camaraderie does play a part of culture, but it's not really the foundation of, I think, what it should mean for an agency.
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved at a couple different agencies where a lot of the culture was kind of set up of this work, 40, 60 hours a week kind of mentality. But hey, on Friday, we're all going to go see the latest Marvel movie. By the way, if your work's not done, you can't go to the Marvel movie, type of thing. So it's just, I think a lot of owners and management, get this idea that, like, by providing these benefits, like that is, making up for culture. But really kind of bring it back to what you said earlier is just, it's more about, the trickle-down effect, how management perceives their work and workload and their team comprehension skills, and essentially how that trickles down to the rest of the agency.
Well, kind of going back to your example, though, isn't the culture the work itself and not the extract of the work? So... like the culture itself of that company is actually the production of that work and how you seamlessly or unseamlessly work together to provide said product or service, right? Mm-hmm. That's the actual culture, is the idea behind that work. So it's the culture itself was misconstrued of saying, watching a movie or going to after hour or happy hour afterwards that's not the culture. That's just an event to go to together. Playing
nice with the people you work with?
Right.
I mean,
it is. But the day-to-day and the things you're actually doing and the work you're doing is actually a output of the culture itself, right? It's not the things around it. The work, that's why you're here, is the work, right?
Yeah.
So we actually did an exercise here at 321 where I gave everybody 3 index cards and asked them to answer 3 questions that revolve around culture, just as an exercise to see what people think. We did it anonymously because we wanted to hear people's authentic answers. And in an agency that I think we're still building on the culture, I thought it was important to hear what the employees had to say. Mm-hmm. So I think as a part of this podcast, it'd be great where we can identify, or I can identify from the answers, a couple of them that I think can stimulate some conversation. So the first one was define culture. What does culture mean to you? And it was very broad. It was not for an agency. It was, what does culture mean to you? Mm. And this answer was awesome. Again, not that one's right or wrong. I just felt strong about this one. It says, culture is what defines us as a work family. We spend just as much time with each other as our loved ones, and it's important that our culture is accepting, comforting, supporting, challenging, and fun. Culture is about the life we share as peers and coworkers, along with a balance for personal and work life. That's great. That's good stuff.
That hits it right on the nail.
Yeah. And it shows to whoever wrote that they firmly believe that culture is more than just performing high or any one thing, because that embodies,
a lot of aspects of the business from a professional and personal level.
Yeah, I mean, we do spend a lot of time together.
Well,
the highs, the lows, the ups.
Well, here's the
everything.
thing, and I told you when when I came on board was I spend more time with a company than I do with my family. It better be worth it, right?
I want to like them. I want to like what we're doing.
I have to. I spend more time with you than my kids, and that's going to be an issue if I don't enjoy it.
Sure.
Right? Well, and again, when I enjoy it, not I'm always going to be happy and love what I do, right? There's going to be stress levels, but just the overarching enjoying, the position I have, the duties, the job, the day-to-days, like the marathon, not the sprint, right? So for me, I always look at that saying, and that's why I told you, I was like, I need to enjoy the environment, the people, the work, everything, because like I'm spending 40 plus hours here while I'm awake here. Like that means something, especially when you're doing it for say 30 some years of your life before you retire. It better be worth it, right? You never want to look back and be like, I hated my job. I never liked coming in. I was there for 35 years. That's an awful feeling to live your life, right?
That also comes down to passion.
Correct.
For your trade, where you
100%.
work, who you work with. And passion to me, I mean, if you don't have passion in what you're doing, I firmly believe that you need to move. You could be making $1 million a year cash, take home after taxes, but if you hate what you do, it's just empty. You're spending all that time of your life to chase a dollar. All that time of your life, the little time that you have outside of the workplace.
And are you being as productive if you hate it?
Of course not.
Right?
When you're passionate about something, it drives everything. It truly does drive everything. I mean, I think you may be one of the most passionate people I know about specifically what you do. You like some of the things that people absolutely hate, aggregating data. You are a spreadsheet god. I know half the people in this office don't even know how to work Excel, but you're so good at it that you love it, that you innovate it. You bring new stuff to us all the time about, hey, we could solve this with this. This product will help, and that's all passion. You have it written over your face every time. That's something that makes me happy to be around you because you like being here. You like what you're doing.
Right, and backtracking from what they wrote is prior to getting to there and talking about the people being passionate is before they step in this office, before they accept a position, I think that's where the interview process is very crucial, especially for an agency, right? Small companies in general. Understand who you're bringing in, and you have to have a vision of the culture you want to bring in here, because the person you're bringing in needs to align with that, because if it doesn't, you're throwing a wrench in everything.
Yeah, it's not just a job. It's
correct.
In your off time, is this something you would talk about? When I'm hanging out with friends, I talk about my trade all the time because I think it's fun. Right? I mean, passion and fun kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there is definitely a... It's very important for you to vet out the type of person that you're bringing on board as far as like the culture. It's not just like an ability of skill or talent or anything like that. They really need to kind of mesh well with your team. They really need to be a supportive team member, a team member that has independence, that can work together, like, somebody who can think for themselves but accomplish everything, working as a team for one goal. But I think there's also a lot of value in putting the warnings out there of like, don't let culture dictate who you hire. Let it be a part of the decision-making process. But as soon as you're hiring someone on because they're cool or because
Well,
they mesh
right,
well with
right.
you, or something like that. Like when those become your primary, hiring factors, then you're bringing someone in and you're ultimately setting them up for failure because you're bringing them in because they get along well, but
don't have the skill set to.
may not be
right.
Or they're not bought in.
Right, or they're not. So again, I think this is where you kind of have to backtrack and kind of self-evaluate, right? One is understanding for you as leaders to say, what do we want our culture to be, and are we expressing that? Are we putting that out there?
Yeah.
Right? This is not I need my employees to do it. It is, what am I portraying out, right? So you as Carrie, what are you portraying out as culture on a day-to-day basis? Right, and that defines it. Like I said, it has to be organic. It has to be authentic. Just because you say it, you need to follow it, personally, right? So once you define that, then you go through the hiring process. You say, let's look at the skill set, right? If you have 10 people that have the same skill set and can do the job, because that's very important, right? Because it's the job, it's the work. Then it comes down to some of the intangible things. It comes down to, do they fit? What's their character traits? Do they mesh well? Like you said, like that's the secondary thing that should define your candidate.
Yeah.
Right. The skill set should kind of be a check mark in the beginning, right? That should get you in the doors, like you're qualified. We had these conversations about the job, about the description, what you're going to be doing a day to day, and we feel that you're qualified enough to do that. Now, let's dive deeper, right? And that interview process, and it's not more about the skill set, more about the intangible things of who you are as an individual, and does that make sense? Like, I think that's where it comes into play, but you need to have that vision and understand what that culture is before you can define it. You know what I mean? So it's interesting because I've heard from a couple of people, and I heard from you, that you feel I am harsh at interviewing.
Yeah, and I say that with the knowing how lucky I am that I was here before you were.
Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure if you had interviewed me, I walked out and just gone like, fuck. I fucked that one up. Even if I did get hired.
Right. Well, Trevor felt the same way, didn't he?
Now, is that because the questions that you're asking
Yeah,
are,
because,
are
well,
tough,
I guess it's one, first I pick up the skill set, because that's, like I said, that's the first thing I go at, right? You're not going to step in this door and have a conversation unless I really feel out where your skill set is for the position. Like, that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't even be in the interview if that's
the vetting
case.
process before you meet face
Correct,
to face.
right? Like, I'm going to ask you questions just about the skill set. That's all that matters. Do you know the process? Do you know processes? Do you know how to use tools? Do you know if it comes to digital, do you know how to set up campaigns? What have you done? What's your measurables? Yada, yada, yada. That's the first interview I ask. The second one, they come in, what is your passion? What drives you? You know, those are the questions that I really care about, because I just vetted everything about the skill set.
Sure.
You know?
And I've heard you ask that before, and I think it's brilliant, because it really should be what leads the connection of an employer to an employee. What the employer does, and does the employee enjoy doing that?
Correct.
I mean, everything else will stem from that fire that you have inside of you to succeed. I mean, you could have different characteristics that make you less desired to accomplish something. But, and in everything we've talked about so far, the question I have for both of you is, are we specifically talking about agency culture? How does culture within a marketing and advertising agency differ from culture in other types of businesses?
I think company culture should be universally the same, right?
But is it?
It should be. The only difference for here is I guess it's for really any small business. Any small business needs to count their dollars and understand the resource they bring in. So it's extra important because, one, we are a company that strives on collaboration.
Absolutely.
As an agency, any agency really does, right? We need to work in small teams. You need to figure out how to work on that group project, right? That's what it comes down to, is that kind of business model really needs a strong culture because of that.
So companies that have employees that collaborate more frequently need a stronger company culture.
Yes. Also, if you are, for instance, like I said, one hire for you means more than one hire at AT&T.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Great example.
So
And the people at AT&T, I mean, well, let's talk to people working in a storefront at AT&T. 5 salesmen, maybe somebody that's working in the back office, a cashier,
and a general manager.
and a general manager. Is their company culture same as a marketing agency?
It should be. It's the fundamental of company culture should be, right?
Yeah,
But you have one goal.
But I mean, when you scale up to AT&T size, it gets really hard to manage and distribute that culture because, like we said, if culture is coming from the top down, it was like, when's the last time any of those sales employees saw the CEO or was on a board call or any one of those?
That's what I'm saying. So it's still scalable. So I feel that for the Southeasterners, Publix, I think, has a good culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You feel good when you walk in there as a consumer, and it does appear that the employees are always pretty damn happy, right?
They
go out of their way to make that sure
shopping
that's the case.
is a goddamn pleasure.
They have a process to kind of understand the main goal,
Yeah.
and they hire people accordingly to meet that main goal, or they get rid of them very quickly.
Yeah.
I can't even think of an experience at Publix specifically where there's been a cashier that has not been overly friendly. Just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I just walk in, all of a sudden I start smiling and I'm happy. But I mean, they're scanning and beeping my stuff, and they're asking me how my day is. It's not just paper or plastic.
Right.
It is
That's what I'm
very
saying.
rare for you to get any toot at Publix.
Yeah.
Again, that's where, but that's where it lies, though. When it comes to scalability, it gets harder, right?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it branches out. So that general manager might not buy into the company culture of Publix and treat all his employees like crap and never train them properly, and then the customer experience is bad. Employees don't like working there, so forth. It can be very dangerous.
So it's harder for a medium to large size business to instill the core values in company culture because you're coming from, like you just said as an example, the CEO of AT&T is not walking into the branch in DeLand and talking to the people there. So the message that comes from the top, and while they do go through corporate training, it's not talked about over and over and necessarily exemplified by the GM
Correct.
that's working in some random branch. So it's a little bit harder.
Correct.
Yeah.
So on that point, what companies have good culture?
Ooh, I was hoping you'd ask that question.
What companies that you know of that you visually see or hear about have great company culture?
4 Rivers.
4 Rivers, couldn't agree more.
I swear to God, one of my at my old agency, one of my interns that I worked with worked at 4 Rivers part time, and she had nothing but good things to say about it. You know, she was a cashier and kind of worked in the kitchen a little bit here and there, and other than just general restaurant drama like that, you can't really escape anywhere. Like, she loved working there. But the reason why I say 4 Rivers, and the reason why is because
You want free food there.
well,
Right, okay.
I mean, this paid for by 4 Rivers. The reason why I say that is because they're a growing company. They had they only had one store. What was it? 4 years ago, 5 years ago, like not that long, and now they have, I think, they're looking at opening up their 6th or 7th location. They got the Coop.
Right.
I think they have more locations. I think they're in like the 10, 15 range.
10-15 range. Anyway, but and maybe it's because we're spoiled because it did come from Orlando. But sure. I swear every single time I go into 4 Rivers or the Coop, I have like a 1 in 10 chance that John Rivers is going to clean my table. He's going to walk over and,
Does he have that much presence in?
Yeah.
Really?
Like, I swear to God, maybe it's just because we're in Orlando and he, most definitely probably lives here. But like, that guy is the owner of a storefront franchise restaurant throughout the Southeast region, and he's waiting tables, and he asks me how my day's going.
He's not afraid to get his hands dirty.
Nope.
He probably knows every position just as good as he knows how to be a CEO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like, top down, like, that's something that the employees at the ground level can see. That's something that management and middle management can see. When you're the CEO, when you're a leader of an organization, and you're in the trenches, people will look up to you.
Right, because a true leader is a person who's going to get down in the trenches instead of barking orders.
Correct.
And making sure that all the employees are taken care of and they feel good. And that's actually one of the things I did want to point out in here too. It was an awesome answer. It says I asked the question for 3, 2, 1 the company. what should we care about the most? And remember, you are part of the we. And this answer was, clients don't come first, employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients. Create an environment where employees feel valued and appreciated, and everything else falls into place. So the CEO that's sitting there bussing tables, right, is showing that he trusts his employees. So his employees are carrying out his, their responsibilities to make his job a little bit easier, because he's down there grunting, grinding, doing everything else that other levels of employees are going to do. So I think that's a testament to John Rivers. And I actually know somebody who, I think she was like the 4th or 5th employee in the company, and now she does the openings of all the new stores.
Oh, wow.
And what she's told me about John Rivers gives me goosebumps, about how incredible he's been as a friend, as a mentor, and of course as a boss to her. And it's so, I mean, I wasn't thinking for Rivers, but great example. Truly is.
Definitely is. Based on that answer, I think that comes down to the vetting process first, right? So
the vetting process of
interviews, bringing the right people in here, because like I tell them is I'm hard on my guys before they come in here, because I am probably the total opposite when they're here.
Oh yeah, I can't really think of a stern talking to that you've given me in recent memory.
The reason why is
I would actually like to watch that. So whenever that's going to happen,
all right.
We'll ding a bell.
Yeah.
We'll call you in.
Yes, please. That's one of those times where I will open the door and come in and be a part of that.
I mean, you do come over and tell me when I fuck up, but like it's usually like a you rascal,
get it together, get it together. Right. Well, the reason why is because I need to be able to trust the people around me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I always tell them, I'm like, I invest in people. But let me rephrase. I invest in the right people, right? And the right people are the ones I feel I need to bring in. Or I think vice versa for you. So
yeah, I mean, this agency's value is the human capital.
Correct.
It's the talent that's in these walls. And that's directly what's being said right here.
Exactly.
And it's a little eye-opening for me, too, to hear it, because it is true. I mean, everybody that comes in here really, really does matter. And for any small business, every employee, every dollar on that payroll, where that's your biggest expense, it truly matters from an ownership standpoint. But from management and directorship and making sure that the people are doing what you need them to do, empowerment is huge, and just the ability to trust them so you can continue doing what you're doing to make sure that it's delivered, the work is delivered to you as expected. So, I mean, it's all just a chain up and down, and I think culture plays a role in every single phase and step of that.
It does, 100%.
Recruitment and it's something that we could talk about in so many different ways, and I'm sure we're all over the place today, but I think it's something that we're passionate about. Jeff, you're tremendously passionate about culture. You're the biggest advocate of it here in the office.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why is just because I've seen it done wrong so many times, and I'm not saying that I know the best way to do it, but I would like to be a part of helping develop and grow culture and our culture specifically, because, there are so many awesome team members that we have here that, I know and love, and, I value their work ethic and their personality. And, what I want to see is I want to see them happy. I want to see them excited to come and work every day. I want to see them, just as passionate about the clients that I'm working on. As I am. So, that's really what it comes down to.
The funny part about that is what you just said, I think, defines what you want to do for everyone else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, it comes from somewhere very authentic. It comes somewhere that you personally need to reflect and build upon on a day-to-day basis, and live by that. And by you saying, I'm going to proactively do this because I believe in a positive culture, in building other people up, just by doing so, you're building culture.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I mean, like we already said that we spend, more than half our lives at work.
Correct.
And so and it's not just, the grind, and it's not just goofing off. It's about family, and it's about wanting the best for your family.
It also comes from within in a person's genetic makeup and what they yearn for personally and professionally. The first question was, what is your personal core value? What's your professional core value? And, if a person doesn't actually care for relationships and authenticity and integrity and honesty and openness, personally or professionally, their view on culture may not be here. It may be skewed. They may not care as much. But, there was a common denominator between those two answers. A lot of the people, what they wrote of their personal core value was the same as their professional core value.
It usually should be, because
how you conduct yourself.
How you conduct yourself is just how you conduct yourself, right? If you write integrity as your personal one and professionally you write not integrity, then
well, that's a problem.
Right. That's very odd.
I'm off the clock, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Time to be an ass.
Yeah. So I think they kind of go hand in hand, because, like I said, that's what it comes down to. Your core value is something that translates between professional and personal, because, like I said, you can't fake that. Mm-hmm. You can fake for so long, but it will come to light, right? Mm-hmm. Good or bad, it comes to light of what you're really about, what you really yearn for, what your core value really is, and that you can't fake. That's why I said, from an authenticity standpoint of culture, you can't force something if you're not doing it. Mm-hmm. Because
it looks fake.
It does. It is actually, technically, it is fake, because it's something that you're not doing, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like what I was saying earlier. It's like when we were at my old agency, when we were working our asses off, and then we had movie day. It's just like, oh wow, great. I still have 4 hours of work to do. And you're taking us to go see a movie, which is great, but you're also expecting that work to get done. So it comes off as, it doesn't come off as genuine when you're offering this benefit and essentially just going we still expect everything out of you as if you were still working those hours during the movie.
Sure.
That's why, going back to yesterday, is why I am so proud of everyone here that collaborated on getting it done. Is I think it was Martin Luther King that said, your true character is revealed not during the good times, but through the fire, right? Through the stress. That shows you who you are.
Yeah.
That shows me where you are and who you really are.
It's when your emotions are running the highest.
Correct.
And you can't hide your true feelings.
It has to be authentic of how you really feel and how you really react and respond to what is going on, to the stress, right? And that's what I'm saying. Regardless of attitude or stress levels or nitpicking here and there, we all got it done, and I think we all are patting ourselves on the back, saying, you know what? Now I know what we're made of.
Yeah.
That's really it.
And then also going back and saying, what can we do as a group next time that makes this better?
Correct.
Where are our flaws? How do we tell each other the flaws in a productive way with constructive criticism? Like, hey, you did a great job. We could do this better next time. And as a group, we'll feel even better about what we did.
Well, I think from that, it comes down to culture, too. I tell you, and, you tell me is the same thing, is saying, I'm fine with you critiquing me because it only makes me better, and then helps you. And I say the same thing. I'm like, with reviews, I'm like, you review me just as I review you. Why? It's not a one-way street. I want to get better just like you want to get better.
But you guys are comfortable approaching each other, and that's important too. You got to be approachable. You got to feel like you can actually tell the person because you genuinely care personally about them being the best person they can be. And that's a big thing for me. I want to be able to tell people all the time, who cares about this? This could be a stepping stone for 7/8 of the people in here. But I'm a relationship-based guy. I want to make sure that when you go somewhere else onto your next thing, that I gave you something and you gave me something, so we carry that relationship elsewhere. That's important to me. That comes down to, that still is a part of culture,
right.
I think.
Right. It is.
That's more of a personal value thing. It's important.
But I think that's where it lies. Is I think he feels, and I'm just speaking for you, but I feel that you feel it's okay for me to be critical of you because you could be critical of me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Is that agreed?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it any differently.
But I think for you, I think that's where it comes down to is I think you accept criticism just as much as you can put it out.
Sure.
Right? So to
come in here and say that you can't criticize me because I'm an owner of the company is delirious. It's asinine.
Right. So
I mean,
anyone that says or feels like I can't, like if you feel you can't criticize an employee or critique an employee and give feedback to better them, and they take it as a negative thing or as a very combative situation.
it's a personal issue.
It might be a personal issue because you're like, I want the same thing, right? I want the same thing out of you as you want out of me, right? It's a two-way street, and I think that's where we win.
Well, that's the team environment aspect. I mean, look at a football team.
Right.
I mean, the people that get no credit are the people on the line, but if there's a person on the line that's weak, it could collapse the whole team.
Correct.
So you want to make sure that
Lane
you give
Johnson.
Lane Johnson. I can't wait till football season.
I know.
There's going to be analogies coming into play about Philadelphia sports.
Jeff won't be here very long for that.
Jeff will get up and leave from one of them. Like
But we
John
will
did.
bring Star Wars back, okay? We'll bring Star Wars analogies.
All right.
Which does Star Wars have a good culture?
Fan culture?
What?
I don't know. I don't
Like,
even know where I was
I mean-
going. I was just trying to relate to you a little bit. And
We're the same age.
I have not
That's very
seen
true.
one full episode of any type of movie or anything Star Wars ever.
That's-
But I don't like it.
I mean, that's fine. You know, it's to each his own.
Yeah.
Hold back your criticisms.
Hold back in criticism. You know, I don't know. This is completely off topic, but like, you know, I don't think there's an issue with people who have seen or haven't seen. I think a lot of people get upset, or a lot of people kind of like.
That's the culture?
Well, I mean, a lot of people create fake people who are upset to get upset about. Like it's just like this never-ending circle. It's
Right.
Like, you know, when you bring culture to that scale, it's like you literally.
The only
cannot
time I
control
see
it.
anyone that loves Star Wars get really upset is if you actually say 1, 2, or 3 is actually a good movie.
I could
There
see,
will
I
be
could see
hell.
how someone would get upset.
There will be hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only way I really see it.
Well, I mean, if you watch the entirety of the Clone Wars show, including the extra seasons from Netflix, it really kind of brings a little bit more continuity in the absence between episode 2 and 3, and you know, kind of makes Anakin turn a little bit more believable because he's more like in the movie he just is like this moody dude who just like kind of like turns and
With
becomes
very bad
evil for
acting,
no,
right.
no reason.
Right.
But like if you watch the show, you kind of see that like. He's very frustrated with the bureaucracy of the Jedi, and he's very frustrated with how he has all this power, and he really wants to make a difference. And he keeps on getting at it from his perspective, seeing his help back, and blah blah blah.
And moving this conversation
I
back
completely
on track,
stopped listening to what
I
you
would
just
like
said.
to know. I'm not sure if you have it on your list or if you have it in your head. Tell me one more company that exemplifies great company culture and why. And I'm going to think myself. So we've identified Publix. We've identified Four Rivers.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about their culture.
Especially for a fast food restaurant.
I mean,
Here's
they
the
have
problem.
to be brainwashing people.
Here's the
There's
problem.
nobody that cheery that early in the morning.
Their biscuits are damn good.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, here's the problem. I think
And I'm
none
grumpy
of us
'cause I
have
to wake
worked
up so
there.
goddamn early to get those biscuits.
None of us have worked there, so it's hard for us from an internal perspective. But from an outward perspective, it seems like a good culture,
seems fine.
or a great process.
Yeah.
Does process make up culture?
That's what I'm saying. So it could fake culture from an external standpoint, but I never worked there, so I don't know.
I'm trying to think of an example myself.
Elite SEM up in New York. Shit, I forget the owner, but they are one of the most successful SEM-driven agencies in the industry. They essentially have, like, in their 12 years, they've lost 7 employees. And the reason why is because...
That's insane.
I know. That's crazy. There's, like, zero turnover there.
So that stat alone
Yeah.
shows that they probably are doing something right with their
Yeah.
culture. Okay.
Well, I mean...
Because I've never heard of that company. You're talking about a random SEM company in upstate New York, right? Or in New York.
I think New York
They're
City.
probably in the city.
But yeah, they're essentially their agency model is different. So whereas a lot of agency models kind of focus on sales, kind of focus on new business, kind of focus on churning production, Elite SEM knows that's their account managers and the people working directly with the client, the strategists, and those people who are responsible for maintaining long-term relationships with their clients. Is how they are able to keep people on for multiple years, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. They've been around for 12, and I'm pretty sure they still have some of their original clients. And the reason why is because going back to what we were saying earlier, the statement of making sure that your employees are happy means happy clients.
They're taking care of the clients.
They're taking care of the clients because their entire model is built around making sure that group of people, that class is the most, satisfactory? Is that the word? Whatever.
How they look at it is I want to keep going back to them, but the Publix model is customer service is everything.
Yeah.
Right? For retention. And if that's the case, then the account person is the first line of defense of customer service. Mm-hmm. So, one, they've leveraged to compensation. They're equity company because they are putting the sweat equity involved. So you add all those things together, it makes sense because the more clients that are happy, that stay and grow because you know how to upsell, that you can retain frequently, you can forecast appropriately, you can compensate appropriately.
Sure.
Right?
No, that's very relevant too. It really is.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Let's take agency and tech out of it. Let's take hospitality out of it, right? Because hospitality, everyone's trying to please the customer,
right? Of course.
And I'm just trying to pick something else outside of the agency. Is there anything else we can identify or touch on of other companies that are showing good culture, or what they do differently, or just anything just to kind of tie everything back together?
I give like 3 answers. That's quite
same
question.
You did.
You actually gave the only 3.
You
I mean, it's
did.
tough too because look, you engage with companies like Amazon. We talked about them in a previous podcast. We have no idea what their company culture is. We have zero idea. Apple, you know how they act in their stores, how they act in their factories, in their warehouses, and the people that are doing product design. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to think of something that's different than what we're used to.
That's what I'm saying. Anything that's
an anomaly.
tech and millennial, they need to be a little more culture driven and kind of act,
sure.
You know what I mean, when it comes to that. So
millennial culture versus that's a whole other topic.
I don't think it's a millennial thing. I think it's a.
You hate when people single out millennials.
Yeah.
As a millennial, you hate being called a millennial. I know.
Calling Jeff a millennial is like one of my favorite things to do.
You're a millennial.
I know. but you take offense to it.
It's hilarious.
It makes me so happy. If I said hipster millennial, you're like, I'm done. I'm leaving.
Just own it, Jeff. Own it. You have a beard.
So that could be a good thing we could talk about some other time is culture to millennials. And I think we talked a lot of awesome things about culture, about company culture, about leadership down to a bottom level employee. And it should be the same up, all the way across. Very curious what the audience thinks culture would actually mean to them. And maybe that'll shed some light in some other industries of people that have different positions. What does culture mean to them?
Yeah, let's ask the same 2 questions that we answered earlier.
Will be this one right here.
Yeah. So the 3-part question, audience. What's your personal core value? What's your professional core value? And define culture and what does it mean to you? So go ahead and put it in the doobly-doo.
So comment, share, like, subscribe. Appreciate your time.